Not too long after my family moved to Illinois, we took the Greyhound bus. My mom, she packed, um, I believe, two suitcases, and she had $4,000 and three children under the age of five. I was four going on five, and then I had two other brothers. One had just turned one, and the other one about three. And so it was in the back room of my grandmother's house where I learned a pivotal, life changing um, concept that would help me throughout life, that will help me heal from the inside out. And I was throwing a ball, and I noticed, I was missing this ball. I was throwing it up in the air, some small ball that I got, something that I had. And I thought, I wonder if I say that I have great reflexes. Will that improve my outcomes? And so I said that I have great reflexes. I have great, and I noticed that the more I said that, the more I caught the ball or caught the object. I think it was a ball, like I said, but I caught the object, and the more I caught the object, the more it reinforced in me to say that positive, now what I know is a mantra, right? A mantra. And so I kept saying it, and I would test it even more. I would throw the ball a different way or throw it higher. And I just kept repeating this mantra. I keep saying mantra, this mantra that I had great reflexes. And so over time, going through my experience with the cycle of pain, and as I've discussed before, that I realized that labels were powerful. Not only were the positive labels powerful, but also to the negative ones. And I had refused at some point, I saw one of my family members, and one day we had a conversation, and she said, it was almost like she took a mask off to talk to me. I could literally see her mask as she was speaking to me. And she's saying how people, were name calling her, told her that she was crazy, or was talking about her that she was crazy. And I could see the tears in her eyes, the sadness in her face. And after she had mentioned what people were saying about her, and she put the mask, it was as if she put the mask right back on. And honestly, I believe she has lived that mask life, where people just thought she was crazy and something was wrong with her. And I felt like there was nothing wrong with you. It was something that you believed about yourself that happened. And so anytime somebody would say anything negative, or I felt like it did not resonate with me, or they were trying to project what I now know as their pain on me, I would say, no, that belongs to you. We deal with a lot of labels, stereotypes. We deal with where people see your color, and they address you by your color. We have applications that we fill out our races and our, um, our religion. And people want to address you by these labels instead of addressing you as a human being. And when we get caught in all of these different stereotypes and labels, then we get into the divisiveness. We get into where we are dehumanizing humanity. We're dehumanizing people based on the color of their skin, their religion, their culture, their gender, that we have to somehow, it's like this crave of, we have to label you somehow. I had a client that I'm working with, and I've been working with her. I help nursing students pass their NCLEX exam. I've been tutoring as a side job, as a side occupation. And she had, we've been dealing with her, being on time and just structure and a lot of different things. And she asked me if I had OCD. And I said, you know what? What I do know is I like structure. I like organization, right? I don't like to be looking for stuff. I like to know where it's at. Do I wash my hands multiple times a day? No. And sometimes I may need to wash it more than I do. but I like structure and organization. And I said, I don't label myself according to the world's labels. We get into these diagnoses, and then people are living by it. Instead of saying I am Sandra, or and I'm not speaking about anybody in particular, they say I am anxiety, I am anxious, I am depressed. And the more we say those things about ourselves, the more we are attracting those experiences that will confirm the label that we have attached to ourselves. And so, yes, we can look at, I am angry. I am angry does not mean I am an angry person. We have to get to the root of why we're angry. I would face my emotions because I learned that as a child to, if I felt afraid, I would say, I'm scared. If I felt anxious or angry, I would say, I'm angry. I would find a way. I was telling my son today that, we choose how we want to express our emotions. We can take a deep breath, or we can go hit a pillow, or we can go hit somebody, or we can cry. We choose how we want to express ourselves. And so I'm not a big fan of labeling in such a way that we are, again, we're doing the opposite of edification. you know, Information supposed to serve its purpose in helping you to get to the underlying reasons, not for you to put a label or a tag on yourself and walk around like that. And when we think about the other things that we've been through, I think about being raised by a single parent, and going through childhood sexual abuse. And people, I even had someone to say, oh, you had a single parent, your home was unstable. And I thought to myself, no, it wasn't, because I knew where my mom was. And even though I experienced childhood sexual abuse, I believe it brought us closer. And I believe it made my soil, my internal soil, fertile to really pick up on, okay, I need to get on the side of something that is greater than me, that knows what I'm about to experience, knows everything, that is everywhere, and something that loves me, that I really felt deep in my heart. There was something out there that truly loved me and was for me. And so I opened my mind to being a student about life, to not saying mistakes, but learning life lessons, and to learn from my experiences as well as the others. That just because you have experienced certain things doesn't mean you are that. You are more than an experience. Experiences are experiences. And I believe we all have a curriculum, something that has been designed particularly for us to reflect the truth, to reflect this divine energy, to unfold the truth through our experiences. And so labeling is another person's opinion, often about you. Something that, because you have gone through this, you are this, and you've seen it, where people are told they're a bad kid, or people told you're and you liked it, you're someone who wants that, and we get caught up in that and start believing that. And we have to dismantle these opinions of others, or we'll end up living the lives of what they want us to live, or what they see. We're living through their eyes, we're living through them. And it could be very well how they are, how they see themselves, as crazy. Because you're different, because you're not doing what I want you to do, that makes you crazy. It's so easy, though, I know, to label others. My mother could have labeled my father millions of times as she talked to us, but she kept things to the facts of what happened, what transpired during their relationship, during their marriage. And she never did say he was lazy or called him outside his name. She kept it at the facts. And so we can respect others by realizing that what they had, or what we have, are experiences. Nothing can define us. We're too greater than that. We're spirits dressed in clothing, human clothing, designed particularly, specifically, divinely for our earthly journey. And when you think about a lot of these mental health diagnoses, we're always looking for, often when we haven't healed, or when we're in the process of healing, it can always come up. What did I do wrong? Who am I now? And we're looking for something, someone to confirm that we are less than what we are because we allowed something to take place. Instead of learning from what we experience and applying those life lessons in our lives now and in the people that we serve, as well as those we love, future generations. So I want to encourage you to look at your labels, to look at who has imparted a label onto you, who has stuck a piece of paper to you and say, you have to be this person. This is who I see you as, and you can't do anything else with your life. You have no thoughts about who you are. There's no meaning other than what I give to you. And then you have to look at what labels. So what have you allowed to come inside of you to define you and from others, and what have you allowed from yourself? When we take the spiritual perspective and that our experiences are just experiences, they are not to define us, they are to call the greater good, retrieve, or to allow us an opportunity to express our greater good, then we refuse, from a spiritual approach, refuse to take on labels that define us as something less. Too many people are living under labels. Too many people are giving labels. And it's up to us to change those thoughts that we have taken on inside of ourselves and to examine them under the light that is in us, the truth, because it is the truth that will truly set you free. As a nurse, I've seen so many people still suffer from medications because often when we are trying for external fixes, and I'm not saying that medications don't come in handy, or surgery or any other intervention that you are doing, I'm just saying that to be really free, to be healed from the inside out, we must address the root cause, because that's what nursing is about. And that's one of the things that I realized over this past week is that I like nursing because it attempts to get to the root cause. Because we know until we do that, again, infections, whatever it may be going to, antibiotics, giving antibiotics, what emotional turmoil is going on inside of you that is causing this physical expression? What emotional turmoil? And if we can't be true to ourselves, who will we be true to? And as we continue to dismantle these myths, we can see ourselves in a new light. We can role model this new person, this person has really always been there, to our children. And they can refuse too to be labeled by anything less. You are not your diagnosis. Let your diagnosis be an opportunity for you to dig deep inside of you, to get to the root cause, and to free yourself, because you deserve to be free. This is Tamika Chambers with Create a Generational Love Cycle. We break the cycle of pain by changing the thoughts. We have to identify those thoughts, and then we dismantle them. We change them into something that is more life-giving instead of life-draining. And then we're able to give to others out of this love that we have for ourselves, because we realize that every human being deserves respect, and that every human being has their own road, path to travel, and every human being has to come to the light. I'll talk to you guys soon. Make this lifetime great. It is Freedom Friday. Time to ditch a lot of stuff you've been carrying this past week, these past years, and let it go. Mondays, as they research says, is a time when many people have heart events, heart attacks, high blood pressure episodes, and it's all of the stuff that we're holding on to that is interfering with our joy and living our purpose that often comes out in these diseases. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care of yourself. Make this lifetime great because you still can.